Solid. Oh, hi. Welcome back to another episode of Qrack the Code podcast. As always, my name is Jamal Thompson, also known as JT, and alongside me is... Eh, I guess it's just me. You are now tuned into the Qrack the Code podcast. So welcome back. If you are watching this from your domain, your television, your laptop, your phone, I just want to say thank you from the bottom of my heart, from me and my Code family. We are now in season 2 of the Qrack the Code podcast, so please expect some much bigger and broader and even more imaginative things this season. We have a very special guest for this very first episode. We're not going to disclose who he is yet, but he is a pillar in the Cookeville community. But before we get to him, let's talk a little bit about what has happened these last couple of months. As you can see, my partner in crime, Eazy-E, is not here. He has gotten a job at the University of Alabama, Huntsville. So shout out to him. He is starting his coaching career. We had so many other people graduate. We had so many people transfer. Shout out to Brett Roberts. He's now playing baseball at Florida State University. Miss Jordan Toney is starting her vet career. So that is a huge and impactful position that she's taking in her life. And so many others have gone on to do great things. So Code is progressing. We still have our Code class, and we are trying to make a difference in any way that we can within this community, and we're taking steps daily to make sure that diversity is exemplified and continuing to redefine the defined and change the narrative of a student athlete. So that's enough of me talking. Now let's take a brief break, a brief intermission, and we will be back with our very, very special guest on the Qrack the Code podcast. Don't go anywhere. Stay tuned.
Career though.
I feel like I like to think that I had a promising career, but I think I was just kind of.
We're rolling whenever you guys are ready.
All right, well, we'll have to put that conversation on hold. All right, let me get right. Don't make me nervous. You're gonna make me nervous. All right, welcome back to our Qrack the Code podcast. We have a very special first and only guest today. He is the chief of Cookeville Police Department. Everybody, please help me welcome Chief Evans. Woo! Go Chief! Woo!
It is, my friend.
How are you?
Doing well.
Thank you so much for joining us on the Qrack the Code podcast.
Oh, it's my pleasure, absolutely.
So let's jump right into it. We know that you are an integral part of Code and the Center of Diversity Education and what we can do. And we know that you also played a huge role in getting our Code class created, our service learning class that meets every Tuesday and Thursday from 1:30 to 2:45. So can you touch on how that class came about?
Well, I can. Of course, obviously, you get a lot of credit for that. And, I'd like to talk about this other student before I talk about you. And I don't even know if he's on campus anymore, but Amari Smith.
Mm-hmm.
And Amari was a grad student, and I met actually during one of the protests. And I call them protests. Not in the sense that a lot of people see protests,
Right.
but there were certainly individuals expressing their First Amendment that we all support, and
Right.
if you believe in the Constitution. And so I met Omari, and actually it was after a council meeting. He and some other young people came to speak and express themselves, and as they do on occasion. And in talking with him after the meeting, and much like yourself, I mean, it was a young man I knew I had to have a conversation with. And in talking with him after the council meeting, he kind of expressed to me how some of our students were somewhat anxious and even nervous about moving to Cookeville.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously it was because of our demographic. And so in talking with him, I realized pretty soon I needed to have further conversations. And I kind of took it personal because I felt like anybody that's not feeling comfortable and safe in this community, it's my fault.
Mm-hmm.
And so I felt a need to kind of pursue that. And I tried to reach out to him on another occasion and just wasn't successful. But fortunately for all of us, I was able to meet JT during one of the Man Up sessions, I guess, or classes or
Mm-hmm.
meetings. And through that interaction, JT asked some pretty pointed questions, and once again, I felt compelled to answer the call, if you will, and have conversations, and so through that introduction, I think Coach Sam.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, I reached out to Coach Sam because at that time I really didn't even know who JT was.
Yep.
And so I reached out to Coach Sam and said, I got to meet this young man. And so we did. That meeting was arranged, and I think actually you called me.
I did.
And
very nervous call for me, by the way.
And so along with Marcus King,
Mm-hmm.
Coach King at the time was here, and so he and I and JT met, and out of that meeting and that conversation was kind of born this service class.
Yep.
That JT kind of took the ball and ran with it, and got a sympathetic ear, I guess, in Dr. Julie Baker.
Mm-hmm.
And so the concept was that I wanted to take the Citizens Academy class that we currently teach to our citizens, and we've been doing that for about 25 years or longer. But I thought that was a good format to bring to the students a different demographic, right?
Mm-hmm.
And just to see if we could build on that and build relationships within our community.
Yeah, and that's huge. And I would be remiss in saying this class does not happen without you and without Dr. Julie Baker and so many other people, being so progressive minded and helping a young kid with a vision and a group of kids with a vision to want to do more, right? And especially in a time which was so turbulent following the riots of the summer of 2020. So, we're going into our second semester. We're in our second semester of having this class. And the one thing that initially sticks out to me, and I think you say it in your first class every year, which is, don't believe the narrative on either side. That is something that I've learned and that I really kind of take with me on a day-to-day basis. So, one, what has being around this demographic of students and of kids and young people and teaching this class and assisting in this class taught you? And can you also expound on what don't believe the narrative on either side means?
Well, I think for us personally, and I'll speak for the Cookeville Police Department, and another goal of this class for me was, obviously, anytime you go into academia, you want to educate, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, but that education for the Cookeville Police Department and me personally went both ways, because I believe going in, and I think it's proven to be fact, that it's not just about teaching a student. It's not selling a product. It's not trying to express, our thoughts and ideas. It's about sharing thoughts and ideas and understanding. And so one of the main goals that I wanted to achieve was to expose some of our police officers to different, I don't know if you want to call it cultures, but certainly I understood, being a graduate of Tennessee Tech and went here longer than I intended to, but I took the extended program.
Me too.
But what I knew from that experience, and also from the experience of the United States Army, is that we've got a lot to learn from each other. And I wanted my officers, and some of those guys are military guys, they get it, but I want them to learn as much from the student as the student was learning from them. Because we had students from international students, the first class, a young man from Canada, and also students from Chicago and Atlanta, Detroit, and other large, Nashville and other large cities. So we had young people come into our community with different thoughts and different ideas and different perceptions, if you will, about what law enforcement was. And so, I wanted our officers to understand their perspective. And I think we are achieving that, and I think it's going to be a continuing process. I don't think it's one and done. I think you've got to continue those conversations and continue those sessions, if you will, education, and because it depreciates and diminishes real quick if you allow it to.
Yeah. And so even expounding on that point, like this vision that you and I and so many others collaboratively came together and helped formulate and create something beautiful. This is something that, to my knowledge, isn't offered anywhere else. Tennessee Tech is kind of doing something and embarking on something that is fairly rare. It's not prominent. So I guess my question to you is, do you think that this should be a national class, and should more police departments and law enforcement try to implement this into their local
Yeah,
university?
absolutely. Whether you've got a university or even a community college, I don't know that this would be a high school class. Maybe
Yeah.
it could be,
Yeah.
you know. But I think, if you didn't have, a college or a community college or a university there, that you might try it. But, and there are student academies, so there has been some format of that in the form of a student's
Right.
academy before, and those are probably that and Explorer programs. So
Right.
those are kind of similar programs.
Right.
But I don't know that I think we're kind of unique in the fact that we've taken this and now offer it, college credit
Right.
to attend. So I think we are unique in that. Now, I have had some conversations on a national level about this. Of course, locally, we've had some local news media interested and done some stories. So I don't know that it's really gained the traction I hoped it would have. But it's still early.
Yeah. Very early.
And so I think you just stay the course, and I think at some point, people see the benefit and see the value in a course like this, and I think at some point it really kind of takes hold and takes off. I really do.
So having this vision, and like you said, it's still very, very early in the growing stages. We experience growing pains, and we have to, maneuver and hop over different hurdles. What does this class, being able to implement this class and, like you said, give college credit and put it on a college campus where diversity is lacking, but that you do have some minorities here who may not feel safe, like you mentioned. How does developing a class like this and implementing it onto a college campus, how does that make you feel personally?
Well, wonderful, I guess, is the word. I mean, it's opportunity, it's just I don't know. I'm excited every day, and I've missed very few classes, as you might attest to. And usually, if I'm not there, there's a extremely good reason.
Yeah.
So, I'm excited every day to be able to attend and see what happens next and see what questions come our way. And again, it's just rewarding. I could put all kinds of adjectives out there to describe it, but for me personally, it is just. Again, it's not finished. It will always be a work in progress.
Yeah.
But I'm very excited, and I'm very proud of the work that has been done. And I think, on both sides, whether the student side, I think they're benefiting. I think the Cookeville Police Department is benefiting. Our police officers are benefiting. And I think we come out of this thing way better off.
Absolutely. And, we talk so much about how informative the class is and how many lessons can be learned on both sides. But we also do a lot of fun activities too, like being able to go to the gun range or the drunk driving, I guess you can call it an experiment or obstacle course that we have to go through. Like that's probably my favorite one. And then, getting to go to or see the K9 unit come in, which I've missed 2 years in a row, by the way. So those are some of my personal favorites. So what would you say your most personal favorite activity that goes on in the classes?
I don't know. I think, I think generally speaking, just the student interaction, and we take young people a little bit out of their comfort zone.
Very much so.
And just like you say, that first phone call that you made when we started a conversation, that was uncomfortable, and I can almost see the tension when some of these students walk into the room.
Yeah.
And by about week 3 or 4, that tension's gone.
Yeah.
And relationships are building.
Yep.
And all that takes is for people to take the time, have a conversation, respect and understand and appreciate each other. And that I see that sitting in the back of the classroom and inside the classroom. I can almost see that happening.
Yep.
And I mean that to me, and again, that's very general speaking.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I like all my presenters, so I don't have a favorite class, but and I think they all do a wonderful job. But again, the real reward for me is just seeing those students just, I don't know, just open up and become part of the conversation.
And I also think it's a very genuine experience too. Like it
Yeah.
doesn't, nothing to me at least, and being in this class for 2 semesters, now being a TA in the class, like it feels very, nothing feels forced, and it feels very genuine, and it feels like you all want to be there just as much as we want to be there in order to learn. And like you attested to earlier, that takes place through conversation and through dialogue, and this class does not happen without a conversation and me getting to meet you and you getting to meet me. And that for me is probably the biggest impression that has happened. Not only, you know, just creating this class, this is cool, but I think it's also a lesson that I will be able to take with me for forever. And it's a lesson that, you know, you helped open my eyes to. So what has this class helped you realize maybe that you did not prior realize, or what impression has this class made on you?
Well, again, I mean, I really didn't know what to expect, and obviously you have a vision, and you hope. I tell my guys, hope's not a plan, but in this case, all I could do was put forth the best effort.
Yep.
and hope that it would be successful. So you really didn't, I really didn't know how it would go, but it's I'm closer to 62 than I am to 61.
Yeah.
So I've been around the block. I was born in '60 and grew up in the '60s and in the '70s, and witnessed the riots of the '60s and the Vietnam era, and,
Mm-hmm.
and those protests and those kind of things, and those will always leave a lasting impression on you. But what I am impressed about with the class, again, is the willingness of our students that attend this class to open up, to interact, to share, and I'm just in awe of our young people.
Yeah.
And that's very, very promising for our future in this country. And some days you watch the news, and or you look at even social media. Getting back to the narrative,
Mm-hmm.
Don't buy into the narrative conversation, but and you think maybe just maybe things are really going south pretty quick.
Right.
And you walk into that classroom and you interact with those young people, right? 18, 19, 20-year-old young people.
Mm-hmm.
And you realize we're going to be okay.
Yeah.
We're going to be okay. That these young people get it.
Yeah.
And they're willing. And they're willing to learn, and they're willing to make, our future better.
Absolutely. Now you said, let me go back. It's time for a little math. You said you are closer to 62 than you are 61.
Yes.
How long have you been in law enforcement for?
Well, since I was 23.
Since you were 23. So now this brings me to a Qrack the Code question staple that we ask all of our guests. So if you can take yourself back and put yourself in the mindset of your 23-year-old self, what would you tell yourself?
Well, I don't know. I mean, obviously, there's that old saying about it, boy, if I knew then what I know now, if I could be 21, 22 again and know what I know now, I would do everything different, But I don't know that I would. Of course, I would have told myself to, stay in school, right? So I didn't finish and had to come back and raising a family and working a full-time job and finishing college was a little tougher.
Yeah, sounds tough.
And it was, trust me. And so I guess I would have told myself to stay in school. But I think, The profession found me. I didn't really find it. I think it, this profession and of course certainly the United States Army kind of shaped me as a person and shaped the way I view the world and think and both of those professions have really been good to me.
Awesome.
So I don't know. I don't know that I would change a whole lot. Obviously, there's all kinds of things I wish I had said that I would say. There's things that I said I wish I hadn't said
Right.
that I would take back.
Right.
But on a grander scale, I think I took the right path.
I think so too. For what it's worth, I think you are impacting a lot of people's lives. You've impacted my life personally, and helped me destroy some of these biases that I previously had, and formulating a class like this has been instrumental and so impactful in my growth. So I definitely think you chose the right profession for sure. So go ahead.
Well, I was going to say about biased. We train our officers about implicit bias. And we all have them. And whether that's influences from our youth, our experiences, or our teachers, or our parents, or our friends. I mean, we develop these things, and some, it's just a fact of life. But the ability to get past that and to be willing and to open up and to think for yourself and see things for yourself and as we talk about the first class, facts are stubborn things, so get the facts and understand the facts, form your own opinions and some of those biases will be destroyed if you're willing.
Right.
And again, that's going back to what we get out of this at the police department. So this helps our officers, even though we give them the training, right? They get the classroom training, but this is the practicum, and so they get an opportunity to, again, see the world for what it really is, and see people for what they really are.
Right.
And and again, in our business, we see people at their worst moment most days.
Yeah.
And this gives us an opportunity to interact with our young people in the community, our students, in a very positive way. And I think it's going to be a tremendous asset for the Cookeville Police Department.
So do I, and I think it's so awesome that we are continuing to ensure that this thing doesn't fail, and I think that we have the potential to impact a lot of people's lives. So I am astounded that we've made it this far, but I'm not surprised, if that makes sense. So last question, one more Crack the Code staple question that we ask all our guests here. It's a lighthearted question, but it's still a very serious question.
All right.
You're on a deserted island. You can only have 3 things. Chief Evans, what are you bringing with you to this stranded island? No pressure.
3 things on a desert island.
3 things.
Well, transportation. For one.
That's a new one. That's a new one. That's a good one too.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And then you got to sustain yourself. Right.
There you go.
So obviously water. You can't survive without water.
Right.
And you can have anything and it'll work.
Anything.
Well, you got to have communication.
There you go. So you said transportation, water, and communication. There you have it. Those are the 3 things Chief Evans is taking with him to a deserted island. Chief Evans, thank you so much for joining us here on the Crack the Code podcast.
It has been my pleasure once again, my friend.
You are awesome, and thank you so much for devoting and putting all these hours to impact young people's lives, and trusting in the vision of a group of kids who really didn't know where we wanted to go, but we knew we wanted to go somewhere. So thank you so much once again.
Yes, sir. My pleasure.
Thank you. This has been a great interview with Chief Evans. We'll be right back on the Crack the Code podcast. Hey, welcome back to the Crack the Code podcast. As always, thank you so much for tuning in. We want to give a huge special shout out to Chief Evans for gracing this platform and talking about our code class, our service learning class, and what it means to him, as well as how it formulated and how it was created. So we also want to give a special shout out to all of our code advisory board members. That's Dr. Julie Baker. That's Dr. Levita Birdwell. That is Chief Randy Evans. That's Mr. Tom Savage of the NAACP. And that's Coach Marcus King. So thank you guys. We could not do it without you. And as always, please like, subscribe, comment on the YouTube channel where you will be watching this on. So we need all the support we can get, and we are thankful for all the support we can get in our quest to redefine the defined. It's just me here, but I also want to give a special shout out to my partner in crime, Ezra Pinzer, killing it down there in Alabama, and a huge special shout out to all the code family members continuing to progress in their sports and redefine the defined. Few quick updates. The basketball season starting off. They play their first game on September 9th at Memphis. The football season is progressing well. We had a huge win this past weekend, so we are continuing to fight these hurdles and endure these growing pains, but I have no doubt that our guys are going to come out on the other side. And me, well, I will be here, as always, fulfilling this quest to redefine the defined. As always, my name is Jamal Thompson, also known as JT. Thank you guys for tuning in on the Qrack the Code podcast.